I've got my cards. It's time for the last card. So they bury one, and boom, that card. That is a very, very good card for me, okay? Because I have now made my flush. Here's one of those basics that I want you to understand. When you're looking at the card list, two of a kind, pair, two pair, three of a kind, straight, flush. As it goes up, the thing that you should understand about that is the stronger that is as you go up the list, the other basic understanding of the game you need to have is the farther up they are, the less likely you were to get them. So one of the questions sitting here is, what's the chances that person has two spades in their hand as well? Very low. Why? Well, because the odds of getting a flush are low. That's why it's so strong. The chances that two of us sitting here both have a flush, it's not zero. Don't fall into that. It's not zero, but it's very, very unlikely because of how difficult it was, okay? If I'm sitting on a royal flush, so that would be ace, king, queen, jack, 10 of spades, what's the chances the other person has a royal flush? Well, it's zero, because you can't. That would take my two cards and the ones that are out there. It's zero. That's the thing. The farther up you get, the more it becomes impossible for you to be facing something else, okay, that is stronger. So that's basic odds. So I just hit a home run here, okay? I think it's very low chances. Really, at this case, there is only one hand I'd have to be afraid of, and that is if that person's sitting on two spades, and one of those spades is a king. Okay? So I'm sitting here looking at this. Basically, I'm sure. I'm sure at this point, of course, that's going to bite me once in a while in my life, but there's no doubt in my mind I'm now beating this person. Okay, so now what's going to happen? So they get to, the first person to the left, they're going to get to play again. What are they going to do? Depends on how good a player they are, how strong a hand. If I'm sitting in that position, there are not too many hands I could have there where I see a third spade come up that doesn't make me a little bit nervous. Okay? That should have put a giant whoa on me, because the flush, you never want to miss that one. It's easy when you're seeing all this stuff. We've seen multiple suits here, especially when they get laid out like this. It just gets easy for your brain to forget that there's a chance a person just made a flush. Okay? Especially with these, they would want to be looking at that, and so it depends. I have no idea what they have. So at this point, they're going to make their last play or not. Okay? Let's say that they put on a giant stop sign. Okay? They see that one come up. They just have a sense, and so they put a big whoa sign on, and they check, which often is done by tapping the table. So they check. If they check, and they check pretty quickly, my chances are pretty small here, because there's really only two things that just happened. That check means one of two things to me. Either it means they think they just hit a home run and they're trying to look weak, which means they're hoping I bet. They're sitting there just hoping I bet, because they're going to get however many chips I bet. Okay, that's what they're thinking. I don't think that's even possible. And so if they check, I'm thinking the same thing they are, which is they think that they probably just lost. In that case, now it's down to, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I've got a dominant hand, so I'm going to do something. Okay? I have some choices. I can do what's called a value bet. A value bet is, I sit here and look at my chips, and I look at their chips, and I think, okay, look at how many chips are out there. If I bet this much, they now are risking only this to win all of that. Even they almost have to bet if it's that small, because they know if I've bet like that it's way high odds that they're going to lose. But the odds are so much in their favor. They only have to be right by calling that bet one time out of a big number. 1 in 20 times or whatever, that's the right one. That they almost have to call that. That's why it's a value bet. It's based upon the value they're getting. The value bet says, for 3, I can pick up that. I only have to... And occasionally somebody will value bet with nothing. Why? Because if I've been playing strong, and then I throw a value bet out there, I might be trying to pull some more chips out of you, so you might fold that. Okay? The person who folds that is the person who is sure they cannot beat whatever I've got. Why throw 3 more out there? It's that thing. I say I put 3 out there with all that sitting there. They have to bet. No, they don't, because they still are going to go, why lose 6 more big blinds? Why do I do that? I might as well just fold it now and let it go. Okay? But that's the decision I'm making. So either I'm doing that. So either my choices are, 1, put out a value bet, meaning try to pick the biggest amount of chips I think they might call. Okay? Another one is to go, ha! Okay? I might slide all in, which is really putting them all in. Why am I doing that? Well, there's 2 reasons. 1, I think I'm going to win. So I'd love for them to push in behind me. That would be awesome, and I knock them out. That would be great. And maybe that they'll do that. Maybe it'll look like I'm trying to make them do that. Maybe I get them to think I'm faking a strong hand. So if I'm bluffing and I miss completely, but I've invested so much and I'm trying to push them out, there's so many chips involved. The only way I can push them out is by pushing everything in. So again, this is the whole thing of poker. There's the reality, which is I'd like to get as many chips out of them as I can. But I don't have to play off of the reality. So sometimes, no matter what I'm trying to do, I am trying to get the most chips out of them, but I might try to make it look like I'm trying to do something else. I'm just screwing with their head, trying to do this circular reasoning thing to get them to do whatever. Okay? In this case, this came strong enough. I am probably going to value bet, and let's say I value bet those 3, and then they're going to do whatever they're going to do. But that's the thinking behind. The more hands you see, the more you're going to see the thinking behind how it's done. There are 2 ways to figure out how to bet. They are play hands. Do that online. You can do it with pretend chips. Okay? Play hands. So it allows you to figure out how to make those decisions. And you've just begun to see the thinking that goes into it. The other one that's really good is watch poker on television. Watching poker on television, and if you watch poker on television, there's a chance to see both kinds of games. Cash games. Cash games are, I walked in, we decided how much each of these are worth. I took however much money I wanted out of my pocket and put that in the bank and traded it for chips, and we're going to play. And at any time I can turn them back into cash, and I can leave. Casinos have those games. Lots of home games are played that way. That's called a cash game. So a cash game says each of these has an actual cash value. I can come and go as I want to. I can play for a little while. I can lose a little. I can be up a little, whatever, and I can cash it in and I can leave. Okay? The other is tournament, and a tournament works by everybody puts in the same amount of money and everybody starts with the same amount of chips. When you watch television, television is filled with both. You see tournaments, including the biggest tournament, which is the World Series of Poker main event, which the winner gets many millions, $6 million plus dollars. And in most years, it has thousands of people who play starting on the first day. Matter of fact, it's so big, the first day, they have to have 2 of them. So, because everybody won't fit in the room. And so they play a first day A and a first day B. And then hopefully they weed out enough people that they get down to where they can get everybody in the room to play the day 2 all together. The people who are left play the day 2 together. That one's $10,000 to buy into. They give you a big stack of chips, and everybody starts with a certain amount of chips. And the thing about tournaments is they all play to the same place. They all play until one person has all the chips. Either way, you're going to see enough about this. They are a different game. You Tournaments are played different because only one person's going to end up with chips when you're done. So they don't have the same value as they do at the beginning. Chips are very expensive. You paid $10,000 for this little stack of chips. In the middle, chips have kind of weird value. They don't have any value because if I get knocked out, I go home with zero. I have no chips. And then they go through this time period where right before what they have is called being in the money, which means you get down to a point at those big tournaments, they start with several thousand people and maybe 150 of them or whatever actually get a cash amount. And usually the bottom cash amount basically pays you back. So you start with 10,000, you get it back. Right before they knocked out the last person who's going to go home with nothing, chips become very, very valuable. Everybody who's got the lowest chips is like playing nothing because they know if I can just survive through one more person getting knocked out someplace, I'm going to get my money back. So it's an all or nothing thing, and they start hoarding their chips, hoping to. Then it gets all the way down to the very end where you have this giant mountain of cash and a stupid amount of chips. And every single one, they're playing by the million. And chips have these weird values. It doesn't matter. You're still going to see the same thinking process that we talked about here, which is, how do I respond to what's out there? How am I trying to get them to do something? Am I trying to do something? These are the things that's going on. So whether you watch tournament poker or you watch the cash games, and there are some crazy cash games to watch, there are some cash games that you can watch on television that minimum buy-ins like $100,000. So you have to put up $100,000 to even sit down at the table to get invited to the table. That's amazing. That's crazy. There are some famous people you might recognize on there. There are people who you don't see on television but are known to be big cash game players, whose names you would recognize. Those sorts of things. But you get lots of chances. Go watch. Watch lots of hands, because the only one that's weird about it is almost all television stuff is going to show you everybody's cards. I find that to be the most difficult part of the whole thing, is because it screws with how your decision making is. You got to really pay attention to what one player is doing and how they're making the decision, and you have to remember that they don't know what you know, which is you know everybody's cards. Watch enough of it though, it still helps you learn it. This is probably the longest video I've made so far, but it's a chance for you to get this basic thing. Obviously, to be a part of Liberty Poker Club, you do not have to play poker. I can't make you do it. Some of you I don't even know. Many of you I don't even know. I can't make you do anything. But I really do want to use this as a discussion of how business works and how we're manipulated by businesses, how businesses like mine manipulate other people, and how we get what we want, and how the entire system works. And this is a great analogy for it. It's also, I think, a fun game, and it's become wildly popular in the last 20 years. And it's something I would really like you to become a part of so that we can talk about it and have it as a point of reference going forward. Go out there, play some games, watch some games.